You're listening to Kayak Flyer with your host, Sean. Tonight, we're brought to you by Tennessee Trailers, OutdoorAdventureTrailers.com. Simply the best way to get your kayak to and from the water. Bajuco Flats Flyco. Simply the best custom-made fly rods on the market, always built to order just the way you want it. Find Bajuco Flats Flyco on Instagram and Facebook. StoneflyNets.com, made 100% in the great state of Arkansas with your choice of woods or burls. Stonefly nets can even be customized for that favorite fisher person in your life. Check out StoneflyNets.com for details. CutthroatFurledLeaders.com, the only leaders that I fish with. Cutthroat Furled Leaders are excellent for saltwater, freshwater, trout, bass, you name it, you can catch it with a Cutthroat Furled Leader. Head to CutthroatFurledLeaders.com, promo code Kayak to save 15%. Guys, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I have to apologize for multiple things. Adam and I had this set up, and some things got moved around, and Adam's kids had football tonight, and he's not with us. I swear Adam is okay. He has not been arrested again. I swear he's all right. Adam will be back with us. Good news, I think I found a new voice for my intro because we're tired of hearing my voice, and my guest tonight, you have heard him, you have seen him, Chad Hoover from the YouTube channel. Chad Hoover. And dude, this is amazing. I watched, and I'm not going to lie, I watch a lot of fly fishing stuff, but we're a kayak fishing and a fly fishing podcast. And I was looking at iCast and I came across you and I went down a rabbit hole, buddy. You've got a great program.
Cool. Well, Sean, can I ask you a question? Where'd you get that shirt, bro?
You can ask me whatever you want. This is a shirt I bought on a fishing trip. I was at Broken Bow, and this is the Grateful Head Pizzeria and Cigar Lounge.
Oh, gotcha. Nice. Gotcha. Yeah, in fact, over here to my right in my office is a pile of fly fishing stuff. I'm actually a pretty hardcore fly fisherman. I've got a video releasing next week called I'm Coming Out, and it's kind of a play on words that like I'm coming out as a fly fisherman. Unfortunately, I've already put out fly fishing videos because we got them in our editing order wrong in the workflow. And so it'll be like I'm coming out, but people will be like, dude, we already knew, which is generally how it works when you're coming out, So yeah, I'm a hardcore fly fisherman. I'm about to start doing a lot more of it. In fact, I'm leaving here this weekend, Friday, driving to Missouri, over there in your home state, going to Springfield to the Legends of the Outdoors Hall of Fame induction. Pretty humbled, honored, stoked, excited, whatever you want to call it, that I'm getting that honor, and crazy at the same time that it's happening. But I want to put out a public service announcement to the folks of Missouri and Missouri. My redneck family is about to descend upon your state to come attend my my induction, and I don't know if it might not be newsworthy if you know what I'm talking about. This might be akin to when the Clampetts loaded up and headed to Beverly Hills. So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out, because they said, wait a minute. You gonna be at the Bass Pro Shop like at the mother store? Shoot, we coming. So anyway, yeah.
It's like going to Roswell. There's all kinds of stuff happening at that store.
Yes. Yes.
I have to say that
and my family
I don't remember the first time I went to Bass Pro. And I remember being depressed at every Bass Pro I've been to because I've only gone to the big one and everything else is just so small. I haven't been to the one in Memphis. I want to go. I haven't been to the one in Memphis.
You just nailed down the feeling that every girl I ever dated goes through to this day.
Oh. Chad, I gotta tell you, this is really
Anyway,
great. You've been a content creator for a long time. What,
yes,
nearly
yes.
10
Since
years?
no, I've been on YouTube 11 years, and I've been
11
doing
years.
other content. Yeah, I was kind of like everybody's buddy TV guy for 3 or 4 years before that, going to shows and being like the sidekick, comic relief dude they made fun of, punching bag, whatever you want to call it. Um, but I started shooting my own videos. 2006, 2007. Put the first one on YouTube in 2009, I think. Um, no, yeah, 2010. And man, I love the feedback. And one of the first or second comments I ever got, and that video got 13 comments ever in the life cycle of it. And one of the comments was, "Dude, I took what you said and went out today and caught my personal best." And that was it. I was hooked. I love the fact that I was able
Yep.
to share. Actually, let me back up a little bit because somebody asked me this the other day, and I really had forgotten how it all started. A guy paddled up to me at a little lake in Virginia when I was stationed there in the Navy, and he said, "Dude, I've been watching you catch bass for like 2 hours, and I can't catch a dang thing." He said, "Look, man, I'm not trying to step on your spot or anything, but could you give me a little bit of advice?" I was like, "Dude, I'll do more than a little bit." I was like, "Do you have a topwater frog?" He said, "No." I was like, "Do you have a Cinco?" He said, "No." Now, in my brain, I thought, "What are you out here fishing in the summertime without either one of those for?" But I said, "I'll tell you what, here's how a Cinco works. Here's how a topwater frog works." And I saw a bass roll in the corner of the pads. I was like, "You know what, dude? Here." I handed him my rod. I said, "Cast right over there, get it as far in that corner as you can. Hold your rod tip up and just work it. Every time you pull, turn the reel. Every time you drop, turn it again. And just do that right there. And I promise you, one will smash that frog in 3 casts." He throws over there, catches his personal best, and he catches
Yep.
a fish on a frog for the first time in his life. And he was literally jacked up like you had injected him with adrenaline. He comes over to me and he goes, "Dude," he goes, "listen, I hope this doesn't sound weird, but could I video you telling me what I should be fishing with so that when I get home I can look at it?" Because back then people were just starting to get video cameras on their phone, but nobody really had them. But he had a
Mm-hmm.
little digital camera, and I said, "Sure." So he goes, "Okay, just tell me what you told me when I paddled up, but like act like you're just talking to anybody." I was like, "Okay." I said, "All right, man. Listen, what you want to do right now in these conditions is blah blah blah." And I told him, and I said, "Hey, could you give me that video?" Now, back then, you couldn't just airdrop somebody a video, or you couldn't you
Right.
know, email it to them. You had to go
It,
put it on a dip. He put it on a thumb drive like a year
yep.
later and brought it to me. And I remember plugging it into my computer and watching it. And I was like, "Huh, I wonder if I put this video out on the forums, if the same thing could happen to that one guy that I taught on the spot, except I could teach 100 people." And so I had a forum back then on kayak bass fishing. So there was a way to load a video right into the forum. So I loaded it into the forum and people
Mm-hmm.
just started eating it up. And I was like, "Dang." And a buddy of
Yep.
mine, actually, Fluke Master, Gene Jensen, was like, "Dude, you got to get on YouTube." I'm like, "Man, I'm not getting on YouTube. That's like stupid." Back then, it's actually the pendulum swinging back that direction. But back then, it was like all like dudes kicking each other in the balls and people falling off of cliffs. And you know what I mean? It was all stuff that got caught accidentally. It was actually basically ridiculousness back then. Nobody actually did YouTube
Yeah.
content on purpose. It was more like America's Funniest Home Videos on steroids. And I just was like, that don't make any sense.
Yeah.
But Gene was really ahead of his time. About a year later, I started just throwing videos up there, but I didn't take it seriously. But I really did enjoy the feedback, right? The like watching somebody else have some success from you sharing your knowledge with them. And I've been doing it ever since. I kind of started really just we turned that into a TV show like that. It was crazy how
Yeah.
fast we went. Um, and just being honest with everybody, like I focused on TV. So for about 5 years, 6 years, maybe even longer, So we started 2 years ago trying to get serious. So 8 years. So literally like 6 more, 7 more years. I would just take some of the TV show stuff and put it on YouTube. But I didn't literally study
Yep.
YouTube or focus on YouTube or learn what I needed to do. And now I'm doing that more and learning, improving, getting better, learning, improving, getting better. And actually, just about the time that I was doing really well, I decided to lose a bunch of weight and start sharing those videos. And they've jacked up my algorithm because none of my fans or followers or family or friends, or we call ourselves knuckleheads, none of my knuckleheads have actually come there for fitness. They were like me, 350 plus pounds, and don't give a crap about that and just wanting to fish. And I'm learning that the better you are, the better angler you are, you know? So,
Yep.
yeah, man,
Yep.
that's kind of the long, short version.
Yeah, on the weight loss thing, I weigh 250. I'm stable at 250. I'm 6'3". I quit drinking beer for 6 months. I got down to 220. When I hit 9 months of not
Mhm.
drinking beer and staying at 220, I decided I'd rather be a little fat and happy. So
Gotcha.
I'm a comfortable
Well, as you can
250
see
right
behind me
now.
over
And
here, I'm a big bourbon fan. In fact, I actually have a collection, like a real collection. But and I like cigars. There's the uh there's the
oh,
humidor up there on the top shelf. But I've kind of backed off of that for a while. On the 75 hard, you can't do any of that. I haven't smoked in a
right.
year and a half, and there are literally some very high end stuff up there that I used to treat myself to, like maybe like once a month, what's every other month, and then there's some juicy stuff over here. But yeah, man, I did a no beer for a year self challenge February 20th, and I
Mm.
didn't intend on doing no bourbon. I intend on doing no beer, but then I was still going to have my my low ball pretty much every evening when I sat
Mhm.
down to wind down. Which during COVID usually turned into like four low balls, which turned into half a bottle. You know, so
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't drank since I started 75 hard, and I had to do 14 days of quarantine, so I had to stop and start over. So whatever 56 plus 14 plus 9 is, I haven't drank 2 weeks longer than that. So I've been drinking a minute, and I decided
Well, when you
that
come
when my what's that?
I would say when you come through Missouri, bring a couple of those cigars and that bourbon, I'll let you sit and film me enjoying myself.
Yeah, yeah. Well, unfortunately, I'm steering clear of it until at least October 22nd when I finish up 75 hard this time. But
Right.
most likely, I'm going to hold off until Veterans Day. I'm going to do it on Veterans
Right.
Day as kind of like like a little mental thing. Um,
Yep.
yeah. So
How how long were you in the Navy?
20 years, 5 days.
And what was your MOS?
So I started out as a aircrew rescue swimmer, and that was a specialty. My rating was AT, Aviation Electronics Technician. I
Mhm.
got commissioned at the 9 year mark, and I became a ensign. Then I started out as a pilot, a naval aviator. I got through about a year and a half of training. Ended up having to have that tooth through right there, and it turned out there was an air
Mm.
pocket up there in an abscess and a root canal where my cousin shot me in the face with a pellet gun when I was 11. So that's how my life works.
Oh,
And
yeah.
when they did the surgery, when they did the root canal to take the tooth out on the George Washington, when I was out on a deployment during the whole Kosovo Bosnia stuff, they left gauze
Mhm.
in there. So literally 8 years later, 7 years later, when I'm in flight training, when I'm doing aerobatics and going like, it feels like an ice pick being shoved in my face. So they literally sent me in for a surgery, and the doctor was not a ear, nose, and throat guy, a ENT for aviation. He was just a regular ENT, and apparently, if you're a pilot, you're supposed to go to a specialist. And so he went in and cut out as much sinus material as he could, and was like, "Hey, you'll never have a problem again." So then I go back in to go do my aviation physiology physical, and they did an MRI and a CT scan, and they're like, "Hey, we got some bad news." I was like, "What's that?" They're like, "He took out so much stuff in there. The membrane between your brain, there's a wall right here that keeps your brain from going out through your nasal passage, has gotten
Mm-hmm.
too thin. So if you ejected, your brains would go out into your lap." So I'm like, "I don't want to eject. I want to fly helos." They're like, "It doesn't matter. You got to be able to fly everything." But long story
Yeah.
short, I got NPQ'd, which stands for not physically qualified. They put me on med hold, and in 3 months, I made $6,000 fishing tournaments out of a kayak. And I went, hold on a second.
Yeah.
I think I'm onto something. And then where the light
Yeah.
bulb really went off is I knew I couldn't just go out and win tournaments forever. And because I'd already gone down that road, rodeo, and I rodeoed for like 8 years. A lot of people don't know how much crazy stuff I've done. So I already knew that was kind of I knew that was the facade, right? You get addicted to that lifestyle. You become a gypsy.
Mm-hmm.
You're going out basically, selling VCRs to make enough money to pay your entry fee and stuff like that.
Yep.
But a guy invited me to, speak at a fishing show, and at the end of the show, he walked up and handed me an envelope, and the envelope had a check in it, and I was like, "Wait a minute! I got paid to talk about fishing?" Now I'm not as smart as most people think I am, right? A lot of people think I'm borderline genius. I get that, but I am not smart enough that my wife buys cups to label them in my house so I know which one's mine. So I'm not smart. I'm just very dedicated to processes. And for like the last
Right.
5 years, I got off of a lot of those processes. I was undisciplined. And so that's the biggest thing about 75 Hard. I'm getting back to that. But yeah, dude, I started like, man, let me see if I can figure out how to do this on purpose. And I got invited to work the booths for some sponsors, or actually before they were sponsors. And I talk about this in a lot of my sponsorship videos. I was just working booths, man, for the brands that I believed in. And what happened was I was in a booth, and I basically just posted on the forum, "Hey, I'm going to do a kayak fishing 101 seminar at the booth." It was at the Richmond Fishing Show and the Appomattox River Company booth. I remember it. And the stage was over to our right, and there was a guy giving a seminar. That guy was Gerald Swindell, and I had about
Mm-hmm.
100 people in the aisle around my kayak doing the kayak fishing 101, and he had like 6 people in his seminar. So the show producer came over and said, he just literally just walked up and said, "Hey guys, listen, Chad just did a teaser for his kayak fishing 101 segment that's going to be on the main stage next. So you guys go have a seat and blah, blah, blah." And I was like, what the hell? Because he hated the fact that I was over
Yeah.
here upstage. So he just came in and talked to Tom Dietrich, the guy that was running the booth, and said, "Hey, what's his name? What is he doing?" Then he went over and made the announcement, flushed everybody over into the seats. I went over there. Gerald Swindell introduced me. I came on stage, and then people started gathering around. And then after the show, that guy was like, "Dude, that's the most people we had in a show ever." And definitely this show, but I mean, at all my other shows. He's like, "You want to make some money?" I said, "Doing what?" He's like, "Doing what you just did." I was like, "How much can I make doing that?" He was like, "What's your day rate?" I didn't even know what a day rate was back then. I said, "Well,
Yeah.
I got paid $400 one time because that's what I got paid in Corpus." So I didn't know what to go off of. And guys, let me tell you this, when you're
Right.
talking about sponsorships and people ask you, "What are you worth?" If you tell them nothing, that's what you told them you're worth. So if somebody says, "Hey,
Yeah.
what are you worth?" they're asking you because they're interested. If they ask you about money, they're interested. If they weren't, they wouldn't, because that's the hardest subject to get them to bring up. So when he said, "What's your day rate?" I said, "I don't. I mean, I got $400 for the last trade show that I did." Now, again, let me tell you guys about marketing, especially marketing yourself. I said it like I had done a whole bunch of shows, but I was like, "Well, I got $400 for the last show that I did." And he was like, "Oh, okay. Well, look, I can't do $400 a day, but I could do $600 for the weekend. And I was like, I'm in. So I
Yeah.
then went to I then went to Appomattox and was like, "You're not gonna believe this, dude. They're gonna pay me to do these seminars tomorrow." He said, "Well, good for you, bro." He said, "You should get Wilderness Systems to pay you to come to the show." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, dude. They pay laborers $150 a day per diem to sit out back waiting to load the truck up." And I was like, "Huh? Okay. Well,
Hmm.
I'm definitely worth more than that if I'm out here selling and I'm on this floor 12 hours a day." So I literally just walked up to the pro staff director, or I was the first pro staff director, but I mean, I walked up to the sales rep. I said, "Hey, what's it take me to get per diem at least out of these trips?" And he said, "You just did. You just got to ask." I was like, "Well, how come I've worked like 30 of
Yeah.
these things and you guys never offered?" He's like, "Well, I mean, we figured you worked out something with somebody else at the company." So I was like, "No, dude, I need per diem for this. At least cover my gas and lodging and all that kind of stuff." And they were like, "Cool." And what I meant by that is now I don't have to sleep in my truck. I actually can get lodging. So they paid me,
Yeah.
and then I knew my value, and then I learned a valuable lesson that weekend. I learned you might not make a lot of money from one person, but if you can learn how to stack it, you know what I mean? You can learn how to layer it, you can make a little bit from a lot of people. And it also insulates you from one relationship or another being fatal to your career or being even detrimental. In fact, and I'm not saying this to stir the pot or whatever, because I literally did a video about this a couple days ago. I'm not exactly sure if you saw it. A lot of people did. The video title was "I Got Fired," and I did. I
Hmm.
got
Yeah.
fired because I was employed as a sponsored athlete by NRS. They decided to go in a different direction. People keep probing me for more, and the answer to that question is, guys, if I wanted to put more out, I would have. I put out the amount I'm comfortable putting
Yeah.
out, but I also wanted to say, listen, you got to take the high road. You always have to take the high road. You always have to set. And here's the thing: I do realize, and I have learned that you don't really have a relationship with the company. You have a relationship with the product, and you have a relationship with the people. The company doesn't exist. The company is fairy dust, right? You have a relationship with the product you represent, and you have a relationship with the people. And one of two things happens: you either lose faith in the product, you lose faith in the people, you both lose faith in each other, or sometimes it's just nobody's fault. It's that you've got one direction you want to go, it's not the direction their company wanted to go, and you don't align anymore. It's just like when
Yep.
when couples go through a divorce, and somebody doesn't have to be the bad guy, right? You're just both
Hmm.
different, and we're just both different. And so, I don't harbor any ill will towards them. I'm not frustrated by it. I'm a Christian, and I firmly believe whatever gets taken away is going to come back. I just lean into it. In
Hmm.
fact, I'll tell you this: when you work on the win a day approach, every day you just put up a win. If you win each day, you turn that into the week that you won. If you win each week, you win the month. If you win the month, you win the year. And I've literally been blessed with the fact that for the last couple 6 months or so, I've been winning every day. And so when you stack up
Yep.
your wins, it's easy to take a loss. It's easy to take one on the chin because you got that, your chest is out, you're stronger, you got momentum. You fall back when you have no momentum, when somebody pushes you. When you have momentum, no momentum's a phrase I use a lot. No momentum is the absence of
Hmm.
momentum, you know? And so if you're standing still and somebody hits you, it knocks you down. If you're moving forward and somebody runs into you, you run them over. That's how life works. And so
Yep.
as long as you got momentum and inertia and you're moving forward, you take that stuff in stride. You know what I'm saying? And I've never been in a better place to lose a relationship that big. And guys, I can't make an announcement yet, but let me tell you how blessed I am. Thanks to you guys watching, listening, following, sharing. The overwhelming response to "I only bought my PFD because of you. I only bought my boots because of you." That got the attention of every other manufacturer in the game. And they were like, "Hey, Chad."
Hmm.
And I'm like, you know? And it was because I was real. So whatever I tell people, the number one thing is to be real. And I'm not gonna lie, man. There was a time where I was trying to figure out what do I need to be for YouTube, and I tried to be all these things, trying to follow this algorithm or trying to follow this. They like this better. Man, if I just do the stuff I like, and I'm a knucklehead, the knuckleheads out there that are like me are gonna like it, and we're all just gonna be a little off together. So that's what I did about a year ago. And I figured it was going to cost me some sponsors here and there, but I figured it was going to be more of a right sizing than anything else. You know what I mean? Um, and
Yeah.
I think it is. I think I think that one of the things that I'm doing this year is I'm using different boats so that I can actually spread my wings and do a better service to the community. I could have easily just stayed exclusive to Bonafide, took a big check, you know, but I realized there was everything in life is more important than money. I'm not motivated by money.
Yeah.
When people make comments like that and haters make comments like that, I usually I want to respond and say, like, do you realize how many freaking degrees I've got, how much experience I've got, how much expertise I've got in places where I could make a hell of a lot more money and not have to deal with you
Yeah.
knuckleheads? But um, I love what I do. So I'm rich in
Yeah.
experiences and I'm rich in gear. Right. Other than that, I'm
Yeah.
just a regular dude. I'm underpaid for the amount of skills and education that I have, but I don't care. And
Right.
early on, people named me not right. They're like, dude, you are not right. And I kind of got castrated a little bit and sanitized by society. And then about a year ago, I was like, nah, I'm just gonna be me because it's the only me that I could be. I can't
Yeah.
be anybody else because there's already a better version of every one of them, but there's only one version of
Mhm.
me, and I think I like me pretty good. I don't like me not being me,
Yeah.
so screw that. I'm just gonna be me, and I'm gonna take on a take it or leave it approach. And yeah, man, it's like letting go of 1,000 pound gorilla on your back.
Yeah. You have made several people very angry with that speech. First and foremost, my wonderful sponsors that I do not charge nearly enough. So I'm gonna have to get after some of them, because it was, and this is my deal, and I'm gonna say this about sponsorship. I'm still in the hole on the podcast, um, with the amount of money that it takes, and we're not even counting the time, the editing, all that, but the hosting and the programs that I use. My sponsors, though, were guys that reached out to me, or I reached out to them because I like their product. Pablo from Juco Flats loved the podcast. He reached out to me. I had him build me a fly rod. I love it. Ethan at Stonefly Nets, great guy, great product. Tennessee Trailers, OutdoorAdventureTrailers.com. I love them. Dave is a great guy. Cutthroat Leaders, Mike is awesome. But these are guys that I can pick up on the phone and I can call. Nick Dooley with Dooley's Fly Shop, he's not a sponsor, but we work together. Save 15% with promo code Kayak. There's a reason why I choose to go with Nick other than anybody else that's been on the podcast that is a fly shop. Fly Tires Dungeon, Rick from Oasis Fly Benches. These are guys that I can pick up the phone and I can call, and they are good people, and I believe in their product. And I plug so many of them that aren't paying me. River Road Creations, Tony is an awesome guy. And the thing is I like the product, number one. And then I get to know the people that are doing it. And I find out that a lot of these smaller companies, these mom and pop companies that don't have, 50, 60 employees, they're good people, you know. And there's been a lot of rip-offs and a lot of people charging more money and this and that. You're talking about Wilderness System. I've got a wilderness system kayak. I'm finally admitting to what kayak I have. I think I've mentioned it one other time. It got a crack in it, and they warranted it. I found out I'm getting a new one shipped where it was warranted. I can't get anybody from Wilderness to come on the podcast. You know, Justin from Right Bobbin was on last week. I don't know if you tie flies or not. I used Justin's bobbin for years, and when the podcast got going, I got a hold of him. I'm like, hey, can you come on? I think having faith in what you have. Oh, LSU.
See, my vice is right
What you
there.
got going on over there? Oh, there's your
My
vice.
vice. That's my
I
fly
need to
tying.
talk about
Yeah.
vices. I I need to talk
Hold
vices
on.
sometime. If anybody out there that's listening knows anybody with vices, let me know. I've got a Griffin Vices who I use, but Bernie won't come on the show, which really makes me mad. But that's a whole nother story.
So this is
What have you got there? I can't read it.
my favorite vice. It's a Donna King. Um, I've
Okay.
I've got a lot. I've got like 6 different where I've wasted money working my way up. But this is a Donna King. Simple, clean, nothing crazy. Does everything I need it to do. And yeah, man, I'm a fly fishing fanatic, and I just kind of got away from it, chasing money, trying to build KBF, trying to pay employees more, that kind of stuff. You talk about being upside down. 2 years ago, I announced to the world that I was 260,000 upside down in KBF, and I think a lot of people thought that's insane, dude. But I made money when I sold Hook One, the kayak fishing store that I built, and then I reinvested that back into this. And do I hope to make money someday? Heck yeah. I'm not working this hard to never get paid, but I use the TV shows and the other things that I do to fund KBF to get it to the point where it needs to go. I use sponsorships. The membership revenue helps us with salaries and employees who are all underpaid. We are all underpaid. I'm not paid. Christy's not paid,
Yeah.
but we're getting there. We're down to only being like 60,000 um, um, upside down right now. We should clear that in another year of the negative, and then we can start looking at it differently. You're going to look at things differently when you climb out of a hole versus being in a hole.
Right.
So
Now, let me ask a question because I grew up here on the edge of the Ozarks, Current River, 11 Point, Jacks Fork, Castor, you name it, those rivers that are out there, I river fish. I barely lake fish. This summer, I wound
mhm.
up lake fishing a lot more. And I suck at it. I absolutely suck at it. I don't have a fish finder. I need to get one. I mean, I just need to figure out how to lake fish. I'm used to throwing Ned rigs and the Z-Man craws when I'm spin fishing. I'm used to throwing some bugs that I tie, some big nasty streamers, and catching smallies here in these clean waters. That's what I do. If we catch a ditch pickle, we all laugh at one another and call each other names. And, you're only fishing for smallmouth bass in these rivers. KBF is kayak
Well, what
bass
you need to
fishing.
do, yeah, but what you need to do is you need to get you one like that, and then it ain't
Yeah.
such a ditch pickle. Or if it is, that's a big old pickle, son. Now, I'm a fan. I'm a
Yeah.
fanatic of smallmouth. Okay, I moved to Tennessee for smallmouth fishing, but I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. Like straight up, reaching down and grabbing a hold to a jaw that takes your whole hand to put around it, pulling it up out of the water, and you got to put your elbow into your rib cage to lift it, and then holding it up for the camera, like actually hurts your shoulder.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
But
And that one up
but
there's
they're
13.
not in.
I've got
Yeah.
bigger than that. And you just got to travel if you want to catch those kind of fish. I don't have those fish in where I
Yeah.
live. But when the kids graduate high school,
Yeah.
my butt's going to be moving somewhere like Chickamauga where those dudes roam.
Yeah.
But I am a smallmouth fanatic. I am on a quest
Yeah.
to break 6 pounds and 23 inches. I've gotten a 22-inch rocket that was like 411, but I've gotten 21s that were 5'1", 5'2", 5. I've never even broke 5.5. I've got like a 5, 5 pounds, 7 ounce. I've not even broke over 5.5. So I want a 6 pounder
So are
or
you
a
going
23
north?
incher. Like that's my new goal. I'm going all
Are
over,
you going
man.
north
Like
to do that,
north,
or
I'm going. We've got them. We got them in the rivers here in Tennessee, man. I just gotta take my time. Got to slow down. Every time I run into one of them, I end up going around the corner and get called. Oh, oh, oh! And I'm on them before they see me before I can make a presentation. So I'm gonna I'm gonna mark them and I'm gonna get out, bank, walk up, scout, shoot them, come back, target them. I'm just gonna maybe get out, go down the bank, come back upstream so that I come at them with their facing upstream. Like I'm gonna get one. Like it's
mm-hmm.
happening. But yeah, man, if I was forced to choose between largemouth and smallmouth for the rest of my life, I'm gonna get a lot of grief for this, but I would choose smallmouth because partially because they're fun and they're badass and they're all that. But I've also caught a buttload of big largemouth, so I've almost itched that
Yeah,
scratch. I said almost, but I haven't really itched that big smallmouth scratch yet.
yeah,
So
yeah. And I found in our waters here around the Ozark area, the smallmouth, there's not a lot of largemouth in the water. There's a lot of warmouth or Kentucky bass, they call them sometimes. And, you know, I kind of consider them an invasive species because they're cutting down on the smallmouth. I know I shouldn't, but I just really don't like them. But our rivers, those smallmouth, they may not be that big, but man, when you hook one of those compared to anything else just because of the fight, especially on a fly rod. I mean, they're amazing fish to catch. And I agree with you 100%. I mean, I love chasing smallies. But what I'm having to learn is I'm having to learn how to do some of this lake fishing. And that's a whole new thing for me because I didn't grow up where there was a lake. I grew up on the river every weekend.
well, your
And
timing couldn't be
KBF,
any
though,
better
I mean,
because
you
I'm about to
guys
launch a
are,
series called Phases of Fishing. Sorry.
well, you'll have to come over here and fish with
What were
me
you saying?
sometime.
I
You'll have to
will.
come
I'm
over here
actually
and
coming
fish with me
over to.
sometime.
Yeah, I'm going to come over there and fish with Johnny Schultz from Fish the Moment, who's in Springfield, Missouri, and I'm going to start
Okay.
working on some lake breakdowns like he does, but doing them from the kayak. And so stay tuned, man. Phases of Fishing coming in about a month. I'm going to start it, and it's going to wrap all the way around. It's going to take me almost 2 years to complete it.
Good deal. Well, if you ever want to go out on a nice smallmouth river, you call me. I'll take you out there. I have we have the Kayak Flyer YouTube, and it's Kayak Flyer YouTube buddies isn't getting any better. I've got a couple of cameras and I always forget to turn them on. So I have to applaud you for making sure you have your cameras on when you're fishing
Mm-hmm.
because I always forget to turn mine on. I always think,
What are
"Oh,
you
I'm not
doing
going to get a
next
fish
Sunday?
here," and then that's where I get a fish. Huh?
What are you doing next Sunday?
I'm sitting here. Well, you want to go fishing?
Well, let's go fishing. Yeah, I'm
All
going to
right,
be in
that
your
sounds
state.
good.
Let's go. I got Sunday wide open.
Yeah, we'll
All right,
talk about
it's
it.
a date.
We'll talk about it after the show. We'll
All
get to
right,
go
sounds good.
fishing. Um, but the kayak
I'll even
bass
pull your
fishing
chair
now,
out
can
when
you
we go to dinner
explain?
afterwards.
Yeah, can you explain that what KBF is for anybody that may not be in the know? How that works?
Yeah, so KBF is a kayak fishing community. Okay, first and foremost, it's a community. Secondly, it is a tournament organization. Um, and part going back to the community aspect of it, we're building resources, we're building educational blogs, we're building a safety curriculum right now, we're building a a bunch of stuff that are assets to other clubs and organizations. We're going to have rules that we already have. You can download them and you can use them. We're going to create templates for stuff, for payouts, templates for waivers, connect you with we already have an automated way to get a COI, a certificate of insurance, if you're going to run a tournament. So we are support for the other clubs out there so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel. We somewhat act as like the sanctioning body for some of those tournament series. We put on it's not the biggest kayak fishing event in the world. I actually said that like 4 years ago, and a guy corrected me after he saw the YouTube video. He's like, actually, amigo, there's a bigger tournament in Brazil. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. And it's, I looked it up and they have 1,900 competitors. So we're the second biggest with 751 on Kentucky Lake in 2018. And then I think right after that is Ride the Bull, the big redfish event down in South Louisiana, right in Grand Isle,
Dude.
like we talked about before we got off the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Ride the
it is an
that's on my
absolute,
bucket list.
it's absolute
That is my
chaos, and I
bucket
can't
list
wait to do
fishing
it.
tournament.
It's
We got to go.
absolute chaos,
We got to
and
go.
I can't wait to do it. Let's go next
I know
year. I'm
we
clearing my
have to go to
schedule up
that.
to that
That's
event. I know.
you call me. We'll go
Next
together. I've
time,
got the name of a guy that has a great Airbnb.
sweet.
Call me. We're gone. We're
I'm
there.
down. I'm down. Let's do it.
I actually
It's a
know
date.
the guy. I know the guy who started that tournament.
Sweet.
And he's a guide down there. He does calm water charters. He's the guide down there for that. He and his wife started it. His wife, I believe, passed away from breast cancer. And the two of them started that. And he is the most chill guy and awesome guide. Calm water charters. If you go down there, tell him the boys from Missouri sent you. He is an awesome dude.
I'm gonna see if I can show you a picture real quick. Keep
Dude, I
going.
went down there. I caught a black tip shark. Um, I mean, I was wanting to catch a shark, and another time I was down there, I caught, I think one was like 42 inches, and I think I've caught one that was 38. I mean, these are just monster bulls that we're going down there and catching in October. It was incredible, and he's a great guy too. I wish I I need to remember what his name is, but it's Calm Water Charters. He's a great guy, and if you go in the off season, he's got a really good rate. But yeah, if you guys are out there and you want to go, check it out. So
Yeah, I
I'm
was trying
going
to
down
find a
actually
picture.
into. Oh,
We went down
I'm
there.
going
My
down into.
son. Go. Sorry. There's like a lag.
Oh, yeah, there's a little lag. I was just saying I'm going down in December and we're fishing for sheep's head. I've managed to catch one, but none of my friends have. So we're gonna go after. Hopefully, there will be some specks left around.
Hey,
We'll
come here.
grab some reds and some sheep's head.
My son just walked in. I was gonna show you him now at 21, but I'm trying to find the picture of when he was like 11. We went down to Grand Isle, and there was 6 of us that paddled out. Within 10 minutes, everybody was hooked up. And I told
Yeah,
Austin, don't put your rod in the water yet. I need everybody to catch a fish, and then we'll let you fish. And he was mad because, he's a kid. He wants to fish.
yeah,
And he's thinking, damn, man, the kid should get the fish first. But I kind of knew like everybody's going to hook up real quick. Then we're going to let you hook up. And what happened was inadvertent. After he hooked up in the school. Well, he was so small and his boat was so small, the fish was towing him along, and all of
yeah.
us were going behind him and pitching behind him, and everybody was hooking up behind him because he was actually marking the school. And dude, it was absolute pandemonium. So this is him now, big old knucklehead. And let me show. I'm gonna try to find it. Well, I'll find this picture while we're continuing to talk.
Yeah.
But he caught a
Well, just send me
what was
the
40.
picture later, and when we do the YouTube video,
Okay.
I'll just put the picture in. How's that
All
sound?
right, perfect. Yeah, that'll work.
But
That'll
yeah,
work.
that
Do you
that
have it?
ride the bull. I mean, you're wearing them out off the way to the kayak.
Oh yeah, yeah. We were in the past for where they have Ride the Bull, just because we all went down there off season. I think here it is in his phone, but like that's him with that monster.
Nice.
I'll
Oh
send
yeah,
it to
that's
you.
a monster too.
It was 44, and he was like, "What were you, 12?" He was like 12 years old. But I'm not kidding you. I paddled up behind him, and I went, "Whoa, guys!" They're like, "What?" I'm like, "He's in the school." I saw
Yeah.
that my graph light up, and they're like, "Oh, dude, he hooked a fish. That fish doesn't even know he's there." So we all just pulled up behind his kayak, dropped the bait down, whack, and then we would peel off and fight our fish. And for 45 minutes, he got towed around by that fish, and we caught 16 or 17 more bulls. while he was hooked up. It was insane.
That's wild. But I mean, going to Louisiana, and I mean, my listeners get tired of me talking about Louisiana. I love it. My listeners get tired of me talking about it. I know I get hate mail constantly from that one person that doesn't like Louisiana, wants me to go to Wisconsin. Um, but man, the food's better in Louisiana than Wisconsin, you know.
Well, there's certain parts of
But
Wisconsin that are pretty good. Have you been to La Crosse yet?
I don't go north. They don't if they don't
Oh,
serve sweet tea, I don't go to that state.
okay, gotcha. That's a pretty good rule to
That's
live
that's a
by,
simple
actually.
that's a very good
Yeah.
rule to live by. Back to kayak bass fishing and tournaments. You talk about on your Facebook page, and a lot of people have questions about this. A lot of my personal friends have questions about this, picking the right kayak. And I bought my Wilderness System radar, and it was like, well, that company, the Confluence company, was the first one basically to have a propeller drive. Other than the Hobie, they have the flaps, but having the propeller. Um, and I'm still on. I haven't bought the drive for it because a buddy of mine got in a really bad shape with one of his, hitting a rock, flipped, lost a bunch of stuff. Long story short, but it has the spot for the fish finder. In your opinion, tournament fishing on a kayak, how important is a depth finder, fish finder, whatever? I don't know the proper term. I don't have one. What is your opinion on that in kayak fishing?
Um, I mean, unless you're talking pre-spawn or full-blown spawn sight fishing where everything is visual, it's critical. You got to have it. And you could probably do pretty good without one if you're a good angler, but you're going to have great anglers out there that have them. So you're going to be basically fighting with both arms tied behind your back, trying to swim in the deep end of the pool. So I feel like electronics are critical for tournament fishing, especially, and for big
So
water lake success.
So is there one? And I just have a series of questions on this. I fish my local lakes here because they're easy to get to. I can take my son. He's 11 years old. I can take him. We can go out. He throws a magnet. He finds all kinds of stuff. He'll fish for a little while. He'll get bored. He'll do the magnet. He, he just he's 11. You know what I mean? But I can't get him to be successful on the lake because I haven't lake fished. Now I can take him to the river and we can catch fish all day long. I know how to fish a river. Our rivers are clean. I know where the root wads are. I can see them. I can't see that in the lake. Is there a kayak fish finder? And can you give us sort of like I'm only asking this because you're the expert, in my opinion. Is there like a price range where we can look at on what we're spending? Because I know they can range anywhere from $134 to over $1,000. And we're talking about a
So I tell people
kayak,
this:
and
um, yeah, because you're putting it on a kayak doesn't matter when it comes to a depth finder. In fact, I think we
okay.
get more out of a depth finder because it's right there between our feet and it's right there by our leg. So what we're looking at is what we're actually seeing. Whereas a lot of times a guy on a boat's got his transducer up on the bow, he's got it on the back, and he's got to relate it all in his brain to where he's standing. For us, it's usually right between our feet or right by our knee. So it's really video game fishing if you know what you're doing. And I tell people all the time, and I say this in a lot of my videos, do not wait to buy a kayak. Buy the best kayak you can buy and get out and fish because you cannot buy tomorrow. You can't buy yesterday. Sorry. You can't buy
Yep.
yesterday, no matter how much
Yep.
money you save on your kayak. So every day you miss fishing is an opportunity to get better. So get the best kayak that you can get for what you can afford now. Don't save up for a year and waste a year. That's a year of fishing you can't get back. But when it comes to depth finders and paddles, you're going to use those things as you climb the ladder of getting better boats. So don't buy the boat and the paddle and the depth finder. Sell it as a package when you get ready to upgrade, lose money. Then buy the next tier. Sell that later, lose money. Buy the best depth finder that you can, and then buy the best paddle that you can, but buy a boat that's sufficient. And then as you upgrade your boat, just move the electronics and move the paddle. I think a nice PFD is also important, but the
Yes.
paddle and the depth finder are two pieces of gear that I say, yeah, that one you should save up on. Here's what you should do: you should either buy the cheapest one that they've got, just so you know how deep it is, and you can use your brain to go, okay, that's where that's at. Okay, here's some fish, or say it to yourself that you're going to be happy forever with an intermediate one and just buy the most expensive one that you can afford, or just save and buy that $750 to $3,000 unit. Because otherwise, if you really get good at it and you use it, you're going to long for those features. Um, and you're going to buy it 5 times if you buy the cheap one and then the next tier one and the next tier one. By the time you buy that $1,000 depth finder, you've spent $1,800 on it. You know what I'm saying? So I do think, though, that right now in this industry, there are some really good technologies and some really small, inexpensive units, because the game keeps getting more advanced. Some of that technology has trickled down to those cheaper units. Um, so the Hook 2 series from Lowrance, and then honestly, the same price point in any other brand is about the same. I think when you get up into the upper high end, right now, if I had to say who's got an edge, I would say Hummingbird's got an edge with the Mega 360. If you get into the upper middle, I think Lowrance has got better user interface, better functionality, and better base stuff. And then I think Garmin led the way with Panoptics, but I honestly think that they got pole vaulted. So this industry is about leapfrogging. So Garmin leapfrogged everybody with Panoptics, and I think that Humminbird and Lowrance backed up and said, "Hold on a second, and, hold my beer," and they come running with a pole vault pole and went over them with active target and with live sight and live scope. Now I will tell you this, and I'm going to
Mhm.
show you that I practice what I preach. I am not a oh my god top of the line, got to have everything guy. And people say this a lot, but I'm going to show you. I like to use the right amount of depth finder. I got into live last year because I went out fishing with Lucas Stewart from Lowrance, and I was like, "Is that like next step really worth it? Like, is it really worth it?" And he was like, "Dude, I'll just go show you, and you could decide." And I was like, "Oh my!" And I was hooked. So I bought a Live 9, and I love it. But I find myself getting too addicted to my electronics. If you actually go read my book, Kayak Bass Fishing, there's a segment in there where I talk about I did a year of no electronics because I wanted to take the crutches away and force myself to get back to
Mhm.
more instinctive fishing and that kind of thing. But here, let me show you this box. I've had this box now for, oh, I don't know, a good minute. Um, this is an Elite TI2 that's still in the box, and this is a this is the Lowrance
Like he fell down.
active target. This is the Lowrance active target that I still have in the box, and I've had both of them since before they came out, and I have not used them because I'm still on the fence about, do I want to go down that active target road? Now, a good buddy of mine, Jody Queen, is using it and kicking butt on the tournament series. So, what I'll say about
Mhm.
depth finders is this: if you don't have them, you're at a disadvantage. If you take an average angler, it makes them a little slightly above average. If you take a slightly above average angler that knows how to use the electronics, it makes them even better. If you take an above average angler and you give them a high end electronics and they immerse themselves in the technology, it makes them dangerous. So I'm resisting the urge, even though I have that sitting in my office. They sent it to me before it came out
Yeah.
on the market and said, "Here, Chad." And I'm just like, so a lot of people think I like
Well,
go out and
you
flaunt the
know,
gear that I have. first of all, I worked my butt off for it. So it should be inspiration that if you
Right.
grind and you work hard, things like this come. But I also I don't always go all the way to the top. You know what I mean? Because I have to maintain that balance of like
Mhm.
what's reality, you know?
I think that's the important thing, as, with my podcast, especially, um, we're talking a lot about fly rods and fly fishing and kayaks and kayak fishing. And, I don't name the kayak that I have a lot because there's a lot of guys that don't want to drop that amount of money for a kayak. And that's fine. We had Eric Jackson was on the last time Eric Jackson was on, that Apex it's a sweet kayak. I can't afford it,
Yeah,
but it's a sweet
right.
kayak. And so you sort of have to hit that middle ground when you're a content creator, when you have a podcast or YouTube channel of yeah, this is the best and the greatest, and this is, gonna do these things. But hey, if you're a school teacher like I am and you can't afford, all these other things, this is something that's gonna get you through and improve your game and get you a little bit more fish. And I think that's a difficult road to go down as a content creator. Does that bother you sometimes, or you're in between what
No,
is
because part of my goal, part of my goal is to show people what's possible. So I have to show the property ladder to show what's possible. To answer that question you had, is it worth it? Well, if I can go out and catch more fish and show you, then I'm demonstrating that it's worth it. But at the same time, I can come back to center and say, but you don't necessarily have to have it. You want to know what the best
right?
depth finder in the world is? People ask me all the time, hey, what's the best depth finder in the world? I said, a half-ounce jig.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
what's the best fish finder in the world? The lure that they're eating right now, you know? Um,
Yep. Yeah.
but I decoupled myself. I had to decouple myself away from worrying about that a long time ago. I remember, um, I remember somebody complaining about the kayak, the Bonafide RS 117 that costs $1,000. There's no way that much plastic should cost $1,000, and they posted it from a cell phone that costs $1,200. So it's like, how are you complaining about
And
something
it's
that's got injection molded parts, 5 hours of labor? It's got to be shipped on an 18 wheeler. It's got this, it's got
yep.
that, and you're literally paying $1,000 for a piece of glass and a circuit board.
Yeah. It's like when Drew was on the show and he's with Crescent Kayaks now. You're not buying the plastic, you're buying the R&D and everything that went into that plastic as well. And I don't think everybody there's a lot of Hoosiers out there. There's a
Mhm.
lot of Hoosiers out there that say, "Well, you only got $300 into that, and you're wanting to charge me 1,000." Well, look at all the R&D and the research and the design. I mean, I've been part of R&D before,
And the
you
tooling.
know.
People forget about the tooling. The tooling to get a
Yeah,
kayak off the ground is $150,000. The
yep,
first 1,200 kayaks they sell doesn't even get them back to even.
right.
You
And
know,
it's
um,
like with fishing rods and lures. I mean, Pablo does a great job. I mean, Pablo does a fantastic job with his inshore reels, his fly rods, or his inshore rods, his fly rods, and he's got a great thing going. But you know what? Pablo didn't just start hand making rods. He blew through how many rods before he got this glue just right so it wouldn't take the color off this type of thread, which is, something that he and I have talked about, you know. Oh, that's a nice redfish.
look at
We'll
that
have to get a
redfish.
picture of that in here on the video.
Yeah, I'll send it. I'll
And
send them
he's a
both to you.
little
It was
guy there
crazy.
too.
He was
Um,
66
but
pounds.
people don't think about this. Chad, we're right at an hour and I know you've got things to do. Let's go ahead and you plug everything you've got. And I'm going to tell you what, can we do this? If it's all right with you, Chad, can you, when we're going to put this, I'm going to send you this video. Okay. I want
Mhm.
you to put this video on your YouTube. I
Yeah, I
want you
can
to
do that.
random select. I want you to random select a comment from your YouTube channel,
Okay.
and if they put in cutthroat leader for fly fishing, I will mail them, if they're in the continental United States, a cutthroat leader for free.
Done deal. We can do that.
How
Easy
does
day.
that sound? You can
Sounds
select
good to
them
me.
off of them. It's a giveaway for you. It's a giveaway for me. And if you're watching this
Perfect.
on the Kayak Flyer channel, do the same thing, but put in Chad, and we'll put you in a drawing for a free cutthroat leader. I've got 2 cutthroat leaders to give away. If you're a fly fisherman, go ahead and do that. I'm sure Chad's going to give away like 3 bona fide kayaks off this show, right?
Not this one, but maybe the next one because nobody can produce
Okay.
kayaks right now.
Yeah, tell me about it. Um,
Yeah, it's
but why
crazy.
don't you go ahead and plug everything, and then we're going to reschedule you if it's okay, because I know we talked about a
Absolutely, man.
crossover,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so let's go ahead and get you ready. You
Man,
got date night tonight. What movie are you
yeah,
going to
I do,
see?
man. Me and Miss Christie are gonna go see Free Guy, which has got Ryan Reynolds in it, the guy from Deadpool. So I'm a
Yep.
fan. I like him. He's funny.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, man, I don't really have anything to plug other than y'all go subscribe to my YouTube channel. From there, you'll find out who all my relationships are, and obviously consider joining KBF. That's how we fund doing what we do for the community. There's a lot more that I want to accomplish. We're actually about to launch a brand that is 100% dedicated to raising money for charities. There's a constant up and down of something happens and people want to create a charity tournament, and it's like, a lot of work to set that up, and that wheel keeps getting reinvented. It's what we already do, plus there's usually a lag in how long it takes to get people together, but that person or that cause like needs that money then. And so we're going to build some coffers to where we can offer assistance to families in need until they get their insurance check. We're going to raise money to raise awareness about veteran suicide, and we're going to raise scholarship money for kids in high schools that don't necessarily have access to traditional scholarship opportunities. And then there's a few other things that we're working on, but join KBF. That's the only real shout out that I got. If you can, you join for $25, you get $65 in premium gift certificates to, like, they're not some stuff you don't want. You get to go pick it. You join for $50 to be eligible for the national championship and our premium tournaments, and you get $75 in gift certificates, like actual dollar value, not like some made up coupon thing.
Right.
So it's that's it, man. We're trying to create a really good value proposition. We're trying to give back to the kayak fishing community. We're trying to create resources for the kayak fishing community so we can get more kids fired up about fishing. Because if we don't, we're literally we're creating a gap, and there won't be a lineage, if you will, And so, yeah, man, that's it. Just join KBF, and
Yeah.
you know, do one good thing for one other person, like every single day, and make that a habit. And if you do that, if we could all do one thing for one person, that would be 350 million extra good things that got done every day in this country, and that would compound over a year. And that would be, I don't even know what that number is. It'd probably be like it'd be like Biden said, it'd be like 150 trillion billion million. So we can compound this thing, and we can be good to each other. That's all.
I I hate to bring politics into it, but 150 trillion billion million, that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I
I
wasn't
I do
bringing
want to say,
politics into it. I was just trying to make a joke.
yeah,
You know what else we
yeah,
need more of in this
no, I was
country?
just
We need
laughing about
more.
that. Makes me
We need
giggle.
more laughter. People need to stop taking themselves so seriously and just relax a little bit and laugh.
But
So
the one thing that is very near and dear to my heart is veteran suicide, injured veterans, and PTSD. And, you know, I've thought a lot about doing a Patreon podcast. And I think that that would be something that would be very interesting to discuss about some of those things that are somewhat taboo for the listening audience as a whole. And send us a email at kayakflyerpodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to hear something like that with some veterans and look at some things that are a little bit different. And I know I'm just sort of free going here that this wasn't planned, but veteran suicide and PTSD and disabled veterans are something that's very, very personal to me. Does that?
Can you see that? It says
Not really.
not
You're gonna have to send me a
secret.
photo of it.
I'll send this to you to
But
put in the podcast. This is a shirt we're gonna do.
yeah,
It basically says not secret, um,
yeah,
like the top secret thing. Spread the word,
right.
and that's something that I'm super passionate about right now. I don't know if you can see it.
We'll go ahead.
I'll send
We'll
it.
go ahead and get that in
I'll
there
send it.
because our veterans have done 20. My father-in-law is 101st Airborne. I've got friends who were in multiple times in the sandbox, and there could be a lot of talk, no matter what your politics are, about how things are going. But we're not going to get into that. Maybe we'll have a Patreon show that we can do something like that with. But guys, I want to thank Chad. I want to thank him for giving me his time, dude. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
And
Appreciate you
your
having me.
Ask Me a Question podcast will be out soon.
Well, I was joking with you when I said it. I'm just going to call it the Chad Hoover podcast because I'm not that creative.
Oh, I
I
thought
was
you
going
were
to
going to
name it a
call it
bunch
the
of other
Ask Me
things.
a Question.
I thought about it, but then people would get confused, So ask me
Yeah,
something was one. There's a lot of them, but yeah, we might do an ask me a question segment in the Chad Hoover podcast. Does that make sense? So,
that would be good. And then you can give away a free axe to everybody that axes you a question.
yeah,
You'll have to get
or
an
a
axe.
tactical hatchet.
There you go.
Sorry.
Let's get some tactical hatchet guys on here to support the show, and then
Yeah,
we're good to go.
I like it. I like it.
Chad,
Cool.
thank you so much. I'm gonna run the outro, guys. We'll be back next week.
You guys
Hopefully, Adam will be back. I don't know. Like I said, I promise he's not in prison. We'll see you next time.